Hello and welcome back to another Archaeoscope. This series is kind of like an inverted Questions of Doom, where rather than you sending me a question to try and answer to the best of my ability, I put a question out there for you guys in the shape of a video to go away and consider, to discuss with your friends, and hopefully comment on the video below. And together, through those comments, through that discussion, we come up with an answer, with an idea that is bigger than any of us on our own could have considered. A sort of meta response to the question of the day. Now the question of the day today is to do with Ben Carson and his ideas about the pyramids in Egypt. This is a story which actually has been floating around really for the past week or so online, and I have wanted to comment sooner, but I've just been so busy in various ways. Today though I have time to sit down and really, I suppose, share my thoughts and ideas on this, and also invite you guys to share yours. Now, if you didn't know already, Ben Carson is a Republican presidential hopeful. In fact, according to some, he's currently one of the favourites, if not the favourite, to become the nomination of the Republican Party for the presidential campaign to become the President of the United States of America. So he's a big deal, and he's an increasingly big deal, as it were, on the world stage. This means that his ideas and his history are being analysed and being exposed to the white heat of press scrutiny. And out of this white heat and this scrutiny has come this idea about the pyramids. Supposedly, Ben Carson believes that the pyramids in Egypt are linked with the biblical story of Joseph. Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat, that Joseph, who, according to the Bible, was inspired by God to prepare for a time of famine by building huge granaries. And in building these granaries, not only did they stave off the worst effects of famine for the Egyptian people and also the Jewish population, which according to the Bible at least was embedded in Egypt at the time, but they also actually had a surplus that they were able to sell to others. So this was an excellent plan, worked tickety-boo, worked really, really well. And Ben and indeed some other people believe that the pyramids are in fact proof of this, that they are in fact the granaries of Joseph, that these things are not tombs, they are in fact giant pointy warehouses. Now there's actually also another idea apparently expressed by Mr. Carson, that, or Dr. Carson I suppose, that the pyramids are pointy in order to fend off blimps landing on them. Now I'm not going to touch that idea, but that is an interesting opinion, and we'll come back to the concept of opinions in just a moment. But this notion surrounding the pyramids of them being the granaries of Joseph is not a new one. This may surprise you, but it's actually been around since the 6th century. It's been around for more than 1,000 years, this notion. Tourists, essentially, early medieval tourists, were told, oh yes, those are the granaries of Joseph, when they went on their grand tours. And this idea has been sort of floating around since then. But the problem with it is that, especially when someone as high profile as Ben Carson states it, is it directly challenges the excellent work done by historians, Egyptologists and archaeologists over the past couple of centuries in trying to understand the pyramids. It directly not only challenges but actually dismisses that work. And this is where an opinion can actually become a rather dangerous thing. Now, opinions are interesting, and actually for some people opinions are the ultimate mic drop moment. You can say, that's just my opinion, man, this is just my opinion, and then just walk off stage, and no one has to has the right to challenge you because you've said it's just my opinion, it's just my opinion. No one has the right to question you because you've said it's just my opinion. Somehow opinions have for some people attained the status of diplomatic, I suppose, or academic immunity. They are free from scrutiny because they are only opinions. Now opinions, it is true, can be harmless. For example, I might have the opinion that when I go to sleep, the whole world is folded up into a kangaroo's pouch, and when I wake up, the world unfurls for me out of the kangaroo's pouch. That could be my private opinion, and it is fairly harmless and a private opinion. But it is demonstrably wrong. All we need is someone to be awake when I'm asleep, and it shows very, very clearly that the world is not being folded up into a marsupial's pouch. In fact, I am incorrect. And so an opinion, whether private or whether in fact public, can in fact be wrong. Opinions aren't immune from scrutiny, and therefore in this case Ben Carson's opinion about the pyramids, and actually apparently his continued adherence to his opinion, is rightly being challenged, in my opinion at least. The problem though is that this opinion is not private either. This actually is a publicly stated opinion now, and a publicly reinforced opinion now, and therefore it starts to take on a much more dangerous role. It can in fact for some people take on the guise of a theory, and this is actually where we get into very, very, very dangerous territory. In particular when we talk about, for example, the theory of evolution, people can say, well, that's just a theory, meaning that's just your opinion, meaning I can just ignore your opinion. And these words are not interchangeable. Theory, opinion, and in fact fact are very distinct notions. They're not the same thing. An opinion can be a theory, but a theory prior to gathering information, what we call a priori, prior to research, essentially. So I might have this opinion about the kangaroo's pouch, and if I do no research, if I do not consult anyone else on this, then it remains an opinion. If I start to do some research and maybe I say, so to my wife perhaps, Mrs. Soup, do you think that the world folds up in a marsupial's pouch when we're asleep? And she goes, yeah, I think it might. Then it may well start to become a bit of a theory, because more than one person is sharing and speculating, but it still hasn't been proven to be true. It still is a questionable thing. Then, beyond the theory, we have fact. A fact is an observable truth, something which people can actually see occurring, and which there is various standards of evidence and proof and peer-reviewed discussion pointing to the idea that this theory actually not only explains rather adequately certain facts that we observe around us, but also actually has been shown to be true itself. And clearly, my kangaroo theory or kangaroo opinion shouldn't really be a theory, because really sometimes my wife is awake when I'm asleep, so she can disprove it very, very quickly. But it certainly cannot be mistaken for a fact. So opinion, theory, and fact are separate things. But for some people, they're not. And this is why it's such a dangerous thing to do, to hold on to your opinion in such a public way when it's so demonstrably wrong. Now, I can actually demonstrate the danger of this quite quickly. Let's actually take Ben Carson's field. He's actually a retired neurosurgeon, so he clearly knows a lot about the brain. Well, if I wanted to be a neuroscientist or a neurosurgeon, and I held on fervently to my opinion that Aristotle was in fact correct, that the brain is not important, it is not important to our opinion or to our reasoning or to our personality. The brain is simply there to cool the blood. It's kind of like a little bladder where blood goes, cools down in the afternoon air, and then returns to the body. If I held on to that opinion and started practicing as a neurosurgeon, I would very quickly kill people. I'd very quickly damage the profession which I am working for, and I'd also very, very, very quickly probably be put in prison. Because this opinion is in fact extremely dangerous, extraordinarily dangerous. If I held on to Aristotle's beliefs about the brain, then all sorts of horrible things would occur. And I suppose this is where, at least in my opinion, I think Ben Carson has to accept more responsibility for the opinions that he expresses. Because these opinions can be very dangerous. They can gather weight, and they can actively erode other good, excellent ideas, excellent research, in fact, which is ongoing, and actually excellent current questions will be ignored. So, for example, yesterday or the day before, it went into the news. There's a sort of news story about the pyramids having a heat anomaly, probably to do with different types of building material being used, and maybe one block of stone or a few blocks of stone are better at retaining heat than the rest of the pyramid. Who knows? that if you're obsessed with these things being granaries, then these other questions about the heat blooms, for example, well, they get ignored. They become well, funnily enough, they become invalid because they're nothing to do with the a priori, the prior to research opinion which you're holding. Holding on to an opinion despite all the evidence, despite all the discussion, despite all the good work done by other people, can actually lead to a very perverse worldview, and also a worldview where good ideas and actually life-changing, life-saving ideas end up being thrown into the trash, being ignored. Now, you might say that I'm overreacting. You might say, look, Mr. Soup, just calm down, calm down. It's okay. He's a politician. It's fine. He can think what he wants about the pyramids. It's not his specialism. That may be true, but as I just illustrated, it's not my specialism to go tinkering with people's brains, but it'd be extremely dangerous if I encouraged loads more people, especially with the exposure that I might have, for example, via an internet video, to, well, consider the brain to be unimportant, to not wear, for example, protective headgear, to not continue to exercise their brain as they get older. If I say, oh, it's just for cooling the blood, it's fine, doesn't matter, it's okay, yeah, sure, just chop it out, yeah, it's not important. It's a very dangerous and counterproductive thing to do, and especially when you're in a position such as Ben Carson's. It is anti-intellectualism, it is dangerous, and it's downright irresponsible to continue to hold on publicly to these opinions. That's my opinion, at least. Now, I've sort of stated my case there surrounding this issue. I think that that there is so much good work and so many good questions being asked about the pyramids at the moment that, to a certain extent, I think the answer is sort of obvious. Obviously, an incorrect opinion can be damaging, and it should possibly be ignored. But really, I suppose the crux of my question, the crux of the thing I want to know about from you guys, is to what extent should archaeologists and historians and Egyptologists be engaging with even the most bizarre notions linked with their field? Should we be trying to look for additional ideas to add to our own? Should we be trying to communicate with people so that we can improve their knowledge about what it is that we're doing? Or should we actually be downright going out there militantly dismissing bad ideas? Possibly a combination of all three. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure. But what I do know, what I do think, what my opinion is on this, is that surely it's a good idea for history and archaeology and Egyptology professionals to be engaging with the public on this stuff and not to be shying away from these conversations, so that discussion surrounding, for example, Ben Carson and the pyramids is not just a joke for those people who are in the know, or worse still, potentially a source of knowledge for those people who are not in the know. Lots of my friends, for example, on Facebook, lots of professionals I know have been joking about Ben Carson. They've been saying, oh, well, he thinks the Easter Island heads are where the original Easter Bunny hid the original Easter eggs, this kind of thing. And that's a joke which is, I think, possibly dangerously dismissive in some ways. Maybe what we should be doing is trying to engage in a productive way, in a way which is approachable, so that people have more than just Ben Carson's ideas about the pyramids to refer to, and so that people actually can ask questions of their own in an environment which is safe and productive. I don't know, what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts, your ideas, your opinions, your theories, and maybe even some facts surrounding this issue. I look forward to seeing what you guys write below, and also look forward to seeing what comes out of that discussion. Anyway, I've talked long enough on this topic, and I have other things to do. As ever, guys, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.